35 most hated stars in Hollywood history. Ever wonder who the most hated stars in Hollywood history are? Stick around as we dive into the 35 celebrities who have made more enemies than fans. Number 35, Woody Allen. All right, let's kick off with Woody Allen. Other than the fact that he's whiny, awkward, and thinks he's funny, but often misses the mark, Woody Allen has earned a spot on this list for more serious reasons. He's notorious for his creepy behavior and has a troubling history of relationships with underage girls. To make matters worse, he infamously married his 19-year-old stepdaughter, which has understandably fueled intense criticism and disdain from both fans and critics alike.
She's also defending her husband of 20 years against allegations he molested Pharaoh's then 7-year-old daughter, Dylan.
Number 34, Bill Cosby. Now, let's talk about Bill Cosby. Remember when he was America's beloved TV dad? Well, those days are long gone. Cosby's fall from grace has been nothing short of spectacularly disastrous. For years, he couldn't find a single person to say a good word about him. It's astonishing that it took so long for his carefully crafted facade to crumble and for his fans to scatter. The shocking part? Cosby, the paternal figure we all trusted, has faced accusations of sexual assault from more than 60 women, some dating back to the 1970s. The stark contrast between his public persona and these allegations made the revelations even more jarring. Justice, though delayed, has finally caught up with him to some extent. In 2018, Cosby was convicted on 3 counts of sexual assault and sentenced to up to 10 years in prison. It's a start, but many feel he deserves much worse for the pain he inflicted.
Cosby quickly left the courtroom after the verdict was read.
We are very disappointed by the verdict. We don't think Mr. Cosby is guilty of anything, and the fight is not over.
Number 33, Chevy Chase. Next up, let's dive into the world of Chevy Chase. You know, that guy who used to make us laugh on SNL and in movies? Turns out he's not exactly the lovable goofball he portrayed on screen. In fact, many people describe him as a nasty individual with a penchant for being downright rude. During his time on SNL, Chase earned a reputation for being a complete jerk. His co-stars didn't hold back either, openly expressing their dislike for him due to his rude behavior towards everyone, not just fellow cast members, but the crew as well. And unfortunately, his bad reputation didn't fade away once he left the show. It followed him throughout his career, which now seems to have come to a quiet end. One particularly disturbing incident involved Chase making lewd remarks towards a female writer, a behavior that rightly garnered significant criticism. It's clear that respecting those who contribute to his success isn't high on his list of priorities. His disdain for politeness extends beyond colleagues to include fans and anyone else who crosses his path. Even on NBC's hit show, Community, Chase's on-set behavior led to his departure after similar issues surfaced. It appears that, despite any attempts at redemption, his attitude remains unchanged.
I love it when your husband brings you out to events like this.
Sure, yes, I do.
Now, I know Sunday nights you don't dress up like this. What do you normally do on Sunday nights?
I usually host the Oscars.
Number 32, Val Kilmer. Now, let's talk about Val Kilmer, who gained quite a reputation for being difficult to work with during the 90s. Directors and colleagues didn't hold back in their criticisms of him. John Frankenheimer, who directed The Island of Dr. Moreau, bluntly stated, "I don't like Val Kilmer, I don't like his work ethic, and I don't want to be associated with him ever again." Even Joel Schumacher, who directed Kilmer in Batman Forever, described him as childish and impossible. These harsh words paint a picture of Kilmer's demeanor behind the scenes. In recent years, Kilmer addressed his reputation during a Reddit Ask Me Anything AMA session. He admitted that his focus on acting sometimes clashed with concerns about the overall film and financial aspects. "I only cared about the acting, and that did not translate to caring about the film or all that money," he wrote. This approach, he realized, often gave the impression that he was willing to risk the financial success of projects, something he now acknowledges is foolish.
Why are you hiding your face? Come on. Hey, what are you doing, man? You can't stop it like that, dude. You can't stop it like that. You're lucky this time, dude. Next time, I'm going to put your sorry ass in jail.
Number 31, Bruce Willis. Just take a look at the stoic tough man that is Bruce Willis. Does that seem like a fun guy to be around? According to Kevin Smith, who directed him in Cop Out, he is actually a nightmare to work with. He called his experience working with Willis soul-crushing, and many other directors have complained about Willis's unwarranted and misguided input regarding their directing style. Although he was working on Cop Out, and that would probably put anyone in a bad mood.
Get away. Dude, I'm gonna fucking knock you. You understand? Get away.
Number 30, Dustin Hoffman. Dustin Hoffman has a reputation for being difficult to work with because he is so dedicated to his craft that he demands creative control over his performance. He reportedly got into screaming matches with directors, including heated arguments with Sidney Pollack on the set of Tootsie. However, the most egregious stories were about how he reportedly treated Meryl Streep while filming Kramer vs. Kramer. Streep was grieving the loss of her partner, John Cazale, at the time, and Hoffman tried to use that grief to push her acting, making derogatory comments about Cazale. He even slapped her at one point, which Streep called overstepping.
Throw his wine glass against the wall, telling only the camera operator beforehand. Meryl Streep's shock is completely real. She later admitted to yelling at her co-star after the shot for scaring her so much.
Number 29, Gene Hackman. Gene Hackman was at the end of his career when he was asked to star in the Royal Tenenbaums. He had no energy left for making movies he didn't want to make, and he really didn't want to make Wes Anderson's film, but he was persuaded by those around him. On set, he made Angelica Houston cry. He called Wes Anderson the C word in front of the entire crew, and he was a hateful individual to all involved. In fact, the only person Hackman didn't cross was Bill Murray, who came in his days off at Anderson's request to maintain peace. After filming finished on the Royal Tenenbaums, Gene Hackman retired from acting and left behind a body of incredible work.
Were you in the service yourself?
Yeah, I was in the Marines.
Yeah.
I'd gone in when I was 16.
What were the circumstances leading up to the decision a 16-year-old kid makes about going into the Marine Corps for you?
I couldn't get laid, you know, and...
Number 28, Burt Reynolds. Director Paul Thomas Anderson was only 26 years old when he made his second feature film, Boogie Nights. Unfortunately, famed actor Burt Reynolds didn't like that, and they started off on the wrong foot. For starters, Burt Reynolds had to be convinced to star in the film through significant effort from Anderson, the studio, and many others. Part of the reason he even agreed to the film was that he was promised an Oscar nomination for playing the leading role of a porn producer. However, despite agreeing to the role, Reynolds didn't like anything about the experience. He frequently swore at Anderson, made life difficult for the crew, and generally acted miserable at every moment possible. It wasn't until the film garnered critical and personal acclaim that he started to warm up to the fact that he was even in it.
She says, good morning.
I'm still married, as a matter of fact.
Yes, well, you...
Number 27, Kirk Douglas. Kirk Douglas was Hollywood's biggest star when he made Spartacus in 1960, and he knew it, as evidenced by his behavior. First, Douglas broke Hollywood's blacklist by hiring Dalton Trumbo to publicly write the script for the film. Then, he decided to fire the original director days into the shoot. With Anthony Mann gone, he turned to his old friend Stanley Kubrick to finish the film. Kubrick clashed with his director of photography, telling him to shut up so he could handle the camera shots himself. Kubrick then fired one of the stars when he and Douglas decided it wasn't working out. Both of them fought each other over creative decisions on the shoot. In the end, Kubrick disowned the film and Douglas. Meanwhile, Douglas's meddling in the production led to untold problems. Even so, Douglas later noted that Kubrick was talented guy.
All right,
right, big shot. Try it. I'll make the biggest stink that's ever smelled in this town. I will.
Oh, no. You're gonna be a good little girl. Because if you aren't...
Number 6, Faye Dunaway. Faye Dunaway may have tons of accolades and awards, but she's awful to work with and work for. Now that Hollywood is exposing the drama queens of the industry, Dunaway was one of the first on the list. These are just some of her offenses. While on the set of Mommy Dearest, she slapped another actor when it was supposed to be staged. The actress said, "She slapped me on the cheek hard and for real." Dunaway also slapped an assistant because she didn't like how her hairpins were being presented. Another assistant of hers is suing her for verbally harassing her. If she's unhappy, Dunaway will also throw things around the set. It's no wonder Bette Davis called Faye Dunaway the worst person in Hollywood.
Vicarious
No, I'm not blaming him for anything. We all make actions and decisions and behave in life because we're a product of who we are and the experiences of our life. I am not saying it's his fault.
Number 25, Joan Crawford. While some actors are blatantly difficult to work with, there are others who are much more subtle. And perhaps no one played that role better than Joan Crawford. An undeniably beautiful woman, Crawford gained a reputation throughout Hollywood for using her body to control others. A master manipulator, Crawford sparked problems with cast members by reportedly sleeping around with fellow actors and directors. In arguably the most notorious feud in Hollywood history, Crawford developed an intense hatred for Bette Davis, who reciprocated the loathsome sentiment. Keeping to character, the beef developed after Crawford stole Bette's love, Francois Tone. It's an unwritten rule to keep your hands away from what's not yours, but Crawford never played by the rules.
Had my cake now. Diamond.
Number 24, Ingrid Bergman. When wholesome actress Ingrid Bergman started an affair with director Roberto Rossellini, she was married to director Peter Lindstrom. Despite the couple divorcing so the Casablanca star and Rossellini could be together, the public couldn't get over the scandal, which was intensified when Bergman had a child with Rossellini out of wedlock. A Colorado senator even called Bergman a powerful influence for evil. Meanwhile, Rossellini didn't get off lightly. He was named a Nazi collaborator inspired by cocaine. Their romance even spurred some government officials to try to start a system where actors would be banned from working if they engaged in illicit activities. Can you imagine if they'd been successful?
Let me ask you about something. Do you know a friend of mine was forbidden to see your movies at one point by his rather straight-laced parents?
Number 23, Errol Flynn. Once quoted as saying, "I like my whiskey old and my women young," the Adventures of Robin Hood actor Errol Flynn was accused of having sex with two 17-year-old girls, charges which he denied. A jury found him not guilty, potentially swayed by Flynn's star power. One of the alleged victims was quoted as saying, "The jury just sat and looked adoringly at him as if he was their son or something." Number 22, Elizabeth Taylor. The media labeled Elizabeth Taylor a homewrecker when she started dating her close friend Debbie Reynolds' husband Eddie Fisher shortly after her own third husband, Mike Todd, died in a plane crash. "I was the last to find out about the affair," Reynolds told the Daily Mail in 2010. "Although I didn't want to find out the truth, I had to face up to it," Reynolds said. "It left me shattered." Taylor and Reynolds went several years without speaking to each other, but salvaged their friendship after meeting by chance on the Queen Elizabeth ocean liner in 1966.
Long now, you filled my life. Like a great noise that I hear everywhere in my heart.
Number 21, Fatty Arbuckle. Possibly the first big Hollywood scandal took place in 1921. Comedian Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle was at a party with an unknown actress, Virginia Rabb, and they ended up in a hotel bedroom together. After guests heard screaming from the room, they rushed in and found Rabb writhing in agony. A few days later, she died with a ruptured bladder, and her friend accused Arbuckle of raping and accidentally killing her. The funny man was charged with manslaughter, but was eventually cleared after 3 trials. Number 20, Walt Disney. Walt Disney has long been accused of anti-Semitism, and the insinuation isn't entirely baseless. In 1938, he invited Nazi propagandist filmmaker Leni Riefenstahl to Walt Disney Studios in the immediate aftermath of Kristallnacht, also known as the Night of the Broken Glass, a Nazi government terror campaign that saw synagogues burned, Jewish shopkeepers' windows smashed, and Jews murdered by Nazi youths throughout Germany. It may be going too far to label Disney an anti-Semite, but there's definitely evidence that he, at the very least, admired Riefenstahl.
We'd start out and try to go someplace with, different things, and I take them to the merry-go-round, and I took them different places. And
Number 19, Steven Seagal. Seagal's appearances on the big screen are becoming increasingly rare these days. Lord knows it's been a long, hard minute since the last time he had a box office hit. That may have something to do with the fact that he's supposedly a nightmare on set. Not only is Seagal cited as being highly critical of others, but he has also been known to physically intimidate cast members. He purportedly slammed comedian John Leguizamo against a wall simply for laughing at him because, comedians aren't allowed to be funny. We'll put it this way. Henry Rollins has stated he'd rather drink latex paint than work with Seagal again.
You run fast?
Yeah, very quick.
Let's just leave it at that then.
May I ask one more question as well?
Yeah, sure.
I know that you're a Zen master. What is the essence of Zen?
Number 18, Charlie Chaplin. Back in the day, it certainly wasn't uncommon for Hollywood stars to marry much younger women. But Charlie Chaplin did it more often than most. He married 2 16-year-old girls, Mildred Harris in 1918 after a pregnancy scare, then Lita Gray in 1924. In 1936, he married 21-year-old Paulette Goddard. Then, in 1943, when Chaplin was 53, he married 18-year-old Una O'Neill, the daughter of American playwright Eugene O'Neill. Another scandalous headline involving Charlie Chaplin came after he was scorned by U.S. Attorney General James P. McGranery, who believed Chaplin was anti-American. McGranery subsequently banned Chaplin from re-entering the country following his 1952 visit to the UK to promote his final movie, Limelight. Chaplin eventually surrendered his permit for re-entry, settled in Switzerland, and refused to return to the United States until he received an honorary Academy Award in 1972.
Chaplin when she was introduced to him at just 6 years old, but the two would work together when Gray was just 12 years old on Chaplin's The Kid. She's credited as Flirtatious Angel on IMDb for that film. It's said that Chaplin's desires towards the young girl were open for all to see. He began having sex with her when she was just 15 years old.
Number 17, Alfred Hitchcock. Decades before Me Too, Hollywood was a playground for men who lorded their power over vulnerable women. In 2016, actress Tippi Hedren accused director Alfred Hitchcock of harassment, claiming that he grabbed her, tried to kiss her, and had a secret door installed between his office and her dressing room. In Hedren's autobiography, Tippi, a memoir, she wrote that Hitchcock would find some way to express his obsession with me, as if I owed it to him to reciprocate somehow. Hitchcock's long-reported obsession with Hedren was the central plot of the 2012 movie The Girl, which didn't portray the famed actor in a positive light.
At the hands of Alfred Hitchcock, the legendary director who made her a star and then ruined her career because she refused to sleep with him.
It is the worst thing to be the object of someone's obsession if you're not interested.
Number 16, Susan Sarandon. So this one doesn't involve stories of how she yelled at someone on set or threw things. Susan Sarandon isn't that obvious. What we wanted to bring up is how she seems to have a snarky opinion about every woman castmate she's ever worked with. One of the most obvious examples of that is when she filmed with Meryl Streep. When interviewed about Streep, she stated, "I am one of those who think Meryl is a great actress. I don't elevate her to the goddess level, but she does get first crack at all the women's roles. If other women had the same shot she's had, they could equal her." She also personally insulted her by saying, "If her household runs as perfectly as her press would have us believe, I'll slash my throat." Wow, okay, Susan. That definitely translates on screens, since not everyone wants to make a film with her.
To make things go smoothly and to keep your end of the conversation going along, and so it feels very unnatural to say, no.
Number 15, Lucille Ball. Lucille Ball played the lovable title character on I Love Lucy, but Lucille was not so lovable in real life. Co-stars have said that Lucille always looked for ways to upstage other actors and cut some of their screen time. Fame can do crazy things to people, including the iconic Lucille Ball. She had a cold, sarcastic attitude toward people, which led to her not making many friends on set. Ball also had a habit of speaking her mind, which, while endearing, can obviously get a person in trouble from time to time. While Ball may have been a diva, many who knew her said that wasn't the whole story and that she was a complicated, complex person.
Ma insomma, vuoi lavorare o no? No, I'm a coach. Poverina, e che crede di pigliar la paga senza far nulla? Andiamo, lavora!
Number 14, Sharon Stone. Audiences have loved Sharon Stone for decades, thanks to her memorable roles in movies like Basic Instinct and Total Recall. But apparently, watching her on screen is completely different than trying to work with this world-class actress, who is apparently a bigger diva than we have all realized. She can steal a scene, but also knows how to make a scene. Directors have dished before about her on-set ego and diva-like behavior, but it looks like those extend into the real world too. The actress was actually once detained in a Utah airport for throwing a fit about a checked bag. While Stone has denied the ordeal ever happened, witnesses on the plane and at the airport have all confirmed that she was making a major scene.
Now you need approval from him to go home?
So what? So who fucking blew you in the parking lot before you came in, huh?
You make me sick, you fucking... Once a fucking hooker, always a hooker.
Oh, fuck you! Fuck you, Sam!
Number 13, Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe was notoriously difficult to work with. Years after her death, The Guardian interviewed Tony Curtis and asked him some hard-hitting questions. Many of those were about his Some Like It Hot co-star Monroe. He stated she was very, very difficult. Her personal madnesses were so destructive that it made her unhappy in anyone that surrounded her. Clark Gable also apparently didn't have an easy time with her. After filming The Misfits, he's quoted as saying, "Christ, I'm glad this picture's finished. She near gave me a heart attack." The next day, Gable did actually have a heart attack. Richard Widmark, her co-star in Don't Bother to Knock, also said she would hide in her dressing room and refuse to come out. Then, when she would finally show up, she was a nervous wreck.
I ain't sick, Ma. I just can't lie to you. And I can't marry you, and I ain't going to Montana with you.
Number 12, Cybill Shepherd. Cybill Shepherd has been acting since the 70s, and it turns out that decades of fame are not good for your ego. She might make magic on screen, but behind the scenes, she doesn't have many fans. While the show may have been TV gold, Shepherd allegedly fought constantly with her moonlighting co-star Bruce Willis. There is a CSI episode with a murdered character allegedly based on her. The writer of the episode worked for her sitcom Cybill in the 90s, and apparently he did not have many fond memories of the diva. In particular, screenwriter Ken Levine published a scathing blog post about the specifics of what a nightmare Shepherd was to work with. You know how fed up he has to be with her if he's making these accusations publicly. Cybill Shepherd was also absolutely detested by her boss and former Cybill showrunner, Chuck Lorre. When Chuck was given the opportunity to be a guest writer on CSI, he devised an episode wherein a reprehensible former sitcom star is brutally murdered.
So after 5 seasons, how did you feel about the show coming to an end?
It was devastating.
Number 11, Tommy Lee Jones. Tommy Lee Jones doesn't just act like a grumpy guy. He is a grump. In fact, it's rare to find him signing an autograph or talking to journalists. Well, that's all fine and good. Most journalists don't want to have a second movie promoting interview with him because he's known for cutting them off and walking out. In fact, he made a reporter cry one time during an interview with GQ magazine, while literally cracking whole walnuts with his bare hands. He also notoriously told Jim Carrey, "I hate you. I really don't like you. I cannot sanction your buffoonery," while on the set of Batman Forever. There's no denying that he probably was too harsh on Carrey, but let's give credit where credit is due. "I cannot sanction your buffoonery" is probably one of the most hilarious ways you could tell someone to fuck off. He may be a grump, but at least he's got a flair for great insults.
Can I take a picture of you, please?
No, I can't do that. I gotta go home.
Quickly, please. God bless you. My camera here.
Be careful what you're on,
Okay,
man.
thank you.
Number 10, Mel Gibson. So, Mel Gibson used to be beloved, but my, how things change. Because that is definitely not the case anymore. It came to light that he was a colossal cretin, and even his superstardom couldn't save him from being rightfully raked over the coals. In 2006, he was arrested for a DUI and made anti-Semitic remarks that landed him in hot water. But unfortunately, Gibson's bad behavior didn't end there. He was just getting started with his awfulness. It's also no secret to the world that he's also incredibly sexist, which was revealed in a 1995 interview. Colbert even reported that Gibson is strikingly lacking in apologies. The list goes on and on. Things turned criminal in 2010 after he sent threatening phone calls to his ex-wife, musician Oksana Grigorieva. He was slapped with a domestic violence restraining order for that and was ordered not to contact Grigorieva or their daughter they have together.
An angry rant caught on tape.
You are provocatively dressed all the time with your fake boobs you feel you have to show off in tight outfits and tight pants.
Number 9, Helen Mirren. Helen Mirren is a lovely English actress whose career skyrocketed after Royal Shakespeare Company in 1967. Not only did she put on such a mesmerizing performance in this play, but she also achieved the Triple Crown of acting alongside her other awards for her exceptional impersonation of Queen Elizabeth II in The Queen. Indeed, Helen Mirren's career can brag about collecting lots of other achievements, including the Olivier Award for Best Actress and Tony Award for Best Actress for her stunning part in The Audience. But outside of her fame and glamour, Helen Mirren's habit of using inappropriate words, even on live TV, isn't exactly a great feature about her. To be more precise, Helen once got in deep trouble for using such language while being on breakfast television with the Good Morning Britain presenters, Ben Shepherd and Kate Garraway. Helen Mirren was baffled when the presenter Ben cut her off by saying that she cannot use such street language on live TV. As they talked about random things, she also opened up about her beauty collaboration with Estee Lauder. When Mirren was asked to reveal more details about it, she finally shot back saying, "It's boring. I don't understand your fascination with it. And I don't think you have a fascination with it. I think you're saying what your editor told you to say."
What do you think when people say things like that about you?
They're free to have their own opinions of me. They can think what they like.
Number 8, Katharine Hepburn. Over the course of her 60-year career, Hepburn advocated for her rights as an actress, took on roles with deliberation, and went on to be named the American Film Academy's #1 film screen legend of the classic Hollywood era. Her legacy surpasses the many roles she took on in film, TV, and on stage, and she became known as a modern woman of her era. She was forever getting herself in trouble with producers and directors, who fired her with impunity and frequently rehired her again when they realized they could never do better than her. At times, she professed to be bored of the movies, even when delivering some of her greatest triumphs, such as her 1938 turn as a scatty Harris driving Cary Grant to distraction in Bringing Up Baby. In later years, she appeared less often to picture roles with singular good taste. A Long Day's Journey into Night in 1962, The Lion in Winter in 1968, and On Golden Pond in 1981 being good examples. Her final screen appearance was as Warren Beatty's aunt in Love Affair, 1994.
You get me first.
Hello.
Now,
She once told me he was baked potatoes. She was more crepe Suzettes. But it was magic, both on screen and off.
Number 7, Klaus Kinski. Even the most difficult of actors tend to make a few friends in the industry, and even if they don't, sometimes you can put up with the worst of the worst if they're simply that damn talented. And then, sometimes you have people like Klaus Kinski, who was reportedly so difficult that nobody gave him a second chance. Though not a household name, the German actor appeared in over 100 films throughout his long career. Despite that extensive list, Kinski only ever worked with one director on multiple occasions. All the others refused to deal with him again. To put it bluntly, Kinski has been described as insane, prone to frequent blow-ups. There really is no comparison to his madness.
Schrei ich oder schrei ich nicht? Und du sagst es mir nicht, aber schrei aber nicht. Leg mich doch am Arsch weg.
Number 6, Sylvester Stallone. The Rocky star, 77, allegedly had a rule in his home that staff could not only not look him in the eye, if he entered a room they were in, they must back out and vanish immediately. The claims were made public in 1999 when 5 staff, including butlers, maids, and cooks, sued him for unfair dismissal, claiming they were fired for accidentally breaking the rules. Stallone's lawyers dismissed the claims as fictional.
You talk love and war. You can't lose.
And
when
he
you have that.
always believed in it. You got to say that for Sylvester.
You know what? You can say a lot of good things about Sylvester. He's a horrible husband.
Number 5, Ryder Strong recently revealed on Pod Meets World podcast, I did a movie with Donald Sutherland in 1993, and he has an eye contact rule. If you're in a scene with him, you can make eye contact with him, but his whole thing was that every crew member has to look away. Boy Meets World co-star Willie Freddie observed, that's ridiculous. A stupid, egotistical power trip.
Wrong. She stood up to it. Women do. They're the most extraordinary creatures, you know?
Number 4, Barbra Streisand. The 81-year-old chart-topping singer and movie star is a renowned diva, famous for controlling which side of her face can be filmed, controlling her image, and demanding everything is done to her exacting standards. One lasting rumor goes that when she stays in hotels, staff must turn and face the wall when she enters the room. It would seem it's impossible to trace back the first celebrity who came up with the no eye contact rule. But one thing is for sure, when it starts circulating, you know you've made it.
It is a very entertaining picture, I feel. People get involved with it. The audience, it's an audience picture. The audience seems to like it.
Number 3, Montgomery Monty Clift. Even when sober, Monty Clift was troublesome. At a formal dinner with the director, Clift ate with his fingers, threw food, and shouted gibberish. Taylor tried to calm him during rehearsals, but she had her own problems. Of course, Monty was in torment. Everybody connected with the film was going through some kind of personal anguish, and it showed.
I miss Montgomery Clift. I miss talking to him, exchanging thoughts and ideas.
Number 2, William Shatner. William Shatner's Comedy Central roast was so good because it gave stars the chance to express pent-up rage they've had for years at this alleged Hollywood grouch. It turns out that while on the set of Star Trek, most of his co-stars hated him because he behaved too badly towards all of them. He garnered the name Captain Jerk for not showing up to Leonard Nimoy's funeral. It's not the most creative, mean nickname, but it definitely gets the point across. While at conventions, he has a huge attitude that fans and co-stars are forced to put up with. At one point, he shouted at Denise Crosby anytime she tried to answer a question. After seeing the way he acts toward his co-stars, it's impossible to have respect for the man. And as far as upsetting fans goes, he might not have to worry about that much longer because his bad behavior seems to be driving away any fans brave enough to stick around.
Who I am
so hurt, so devastated.
His daughter reached out to you.
Number 1, Marlon Brando. Brando was considered eccentric, which means he was a pain in the butt who made a lot of people a lot of money, so they put up with him. Don't let his eccentricity stop you from seeing On the Waterfront, A Streetcar Named Desire, or his riveting Mark Antony monologue in Julius Caesar. Diva or not, Brando was consistent off the screen as well, turning down an Academy Award for Best Actor for his role as Don Corleone in The Godfather. Apparently, it was an offer he could refuse. Other examples of Brando's odd behavior includes not responding to director Frank Oz's suggestions unless he spoke in a Miss Piggy voice, and demanding and getting $10 million for a 4-minute appearance in Superman.
Cheyenne is doing her best. Excuse me. Sorry.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring the bell for notifications so you never miss a new upload. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.